Hello and welcome, English learners. We are so excited to have you here today for another powerful episode of our podcast. If you've ever felt stuck in your English learning journey, if you can understand English but still struggle to speak fluently, this episode is for you. I'm Adam, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Sophia.
That's right, Adam. And today, we're talking about something that so many English learners ask us. Can I really become fluent in just 3 months? Well, the answer is yes, but only if you use the right method, a step-by-step fluency plan that actually works.
And that's exactly what we're going to give you today. We've designed a 90-day fluency roadmap that will help you speak more confidently without hesitation. Train your brain to think in English naturally. Improve your pronunciation, vocabulary, and listening skills. And most importantly, start speaking fluently.
If you follow this plan and stay consistent, in just 3 months, you will see a huge transformation in your English. So, are you ready to take on this fluency challenge? Grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's get started.
Chapter 1. The 3-month fluency mindset. Before we even talk about techniques or practice methods, we need to address something crucial: your mindset. You see, most learners don't struggle with English because they lack knowledge. They struggle because of the way they think about fluency. Many believe fluency takes years of study, that they need to learn thousands of words before they can speak confidently, or that they need to speak perfectly before opening their mouths. But that's not true. What if I told you that you could speak fluently in just 3 months if you use the right approach? Would you believe me? Because here's the truth. Fluency is not about time. It's about intensity and consistency.
That's absolutely right, Adam. If you believe that fluency is something that takes years, then your progress will be slow because you'll think, I have time, I don't need to practice every day. But when you shift your mindset and say, I will become fluent in 3 months, suddenly your brain prioritizes learning. And the best part? You don't need to study for hours a day to make this work. You just need consistent, focused practice, even just 10 to 15 minutes daily. Let me ask our listeners a question. Would you rather practice English for 5 minutes every day or 2 hours once a week? Many people think 2 hours a week is better, but actually it's not. Your brain doesn't learn effectively that way. It needs constant exposure to English. Think of it like this. Imagine you want to get fit. If you go to the gym for 5 hours once a week, will that be enough? No. But if you work out for just 30 minutes a day, your body will start transforming. It's the same with English. Daily practice beats occasional study.
That's a great example, Sophia. And this brings us to another major fluency killer: the fear of making mistakes. Most learners wait until they feel ready before they start speaking. They think, I need to know perfect grammar first, or I should learn more vocabulary before I speak. But that's the biggest mistake. If you wait for perfection, you'll never start. Fluency is not about speaking perfectly. It's about speaking comfortably. Think about how native speakers talk. Do they always use perfect grammar? No. They say things like checkmark gonna instead of going to, dunno instead of I don't know. It's kinda cold instead of it is somewhat cold. Native speakers prioritize communication over perfection. So if you're thinking, I'll start speaking once I know everything, you're delaying your progress. You need to speak from day one, even if you make mistakes.
Absolutely. And let's be honest, mistakes are part of learning. Even native speakers make grammar mistakes. But they don't stop talking because of it. Imagine you're at a cafe and you want to order coffee. A perfectionist learner might hesitate, thinking, should I say, can I have or may I have? Should I use please at the end? What if I mispronounce something? Meanwhile, a fluent speaker just goes for it. Can I get a coffee, please? It's simple, it's clear, and most importantly, it keeps the conversation flowing. No one is going to judge you for small mistakes. But if you freeze and don't speak at all, you lose the opportunity to practice.
That's so true, Sophia. And this brings us to another key mindset shift: surrounding yourself with English. Most learners only use English when they study. But if you want to become fluent in 3 months, English needs to become part of your daily life. Here's what you can do starting today. Change your phone's language to English. Listen to English music, podcasts, or audiobooks every day. Watch TV shows and YouTube videos in English, without subtitles if possible. Start thinking in English throughout the day. The more you immerse yourself, the faster your brain adapts to English as a natural language.
Yes. And don't just passively listen. Engage with English. When watching a YouTube video, pause and repeat sentences out loud. If you hear a new word, write it down and use it in a sentence. Talk to yourself in English, even if no one is around. If you make English part of your lifestyle, you will start to think and speak more naturally.
Exactly, Sophia. So before we move on, let's summarize the key mindset shifts you need for fluency in 3 months. 1. Fluency is about consistency, not time. Short daily practice is better than long, irregular study sessions. 2. Forget perfection. Focus on communication. The goal is to express yourself, not to be grammatically perfect. 3. Make mistakes and keep talking. The only way to improve speaking is to actually speak. 4. Surround yourself with English. Change your environment so that English is always around you. And here's your first fluency challenge. Set a 90-day goal. Say, in 3 months, I will speak English confidently, even if I make mistakes. Decide to practice every day, even for just 5 to 10 minutes. Make English a part of your daily routine. If you start with this mindset, the next 3 months will be life-changing.
That's right. And now that we've built the right foundation, let's move on to step 1, building your daily speaking habit.
Yes, because fluency doesn't start with grammar books or vocabulary lists. It starts with speaking every single day. All right, English learners, now that we've covered the mindset shift you need to become fluent in 3 months, let's dive into the first step in your journey, building a daily speaking habit. A lot of learners understand English really well. They can watch movies, listen to podcasts, and even read books in English. But when it comes to speaking, they freeze. They hesitate. They struggle to find the right words. Why does this happen? Because they don't practice speaking. You can't expect to be fluent if you only listen and study grammar. You need to speak every single day to train your brain to produce words quickly and naturally.
That's exactly right, Adam. Many learners tell us, I understand everything, but when I try to speak, my mind goes blank. That happens because understanding English is a passive skill, while speaking is an active skill. Think of it like this. If you watch people at the gym lifting weights, does that mean you can lift heavy weights too? No. You have to train your muscles yourself. It's the same with English. Your brain and mouth need practice forming sentences in real time. So, in your first week, your only goal is to start speaking daily, even if it's just for a few minutes, even if you don't have anyone to talk to.
Exactly, Sophia. You don't need a speaking partner to practice. You can practice by yourself. Here's a super simple exercise that will train your brain to think in English faster. Narrate your daily activities. For example, as you go about your day, say what you're doing. I'm making coffee. I have a meeting at 10 a.m. It's raining outside. It might feel strange at first, but trust me, this method is powerful. When you do this every day, your brain gets used to forming sentences quickly. Over time, you'll stop hesitating and start speaking naturally.
That's such a great technique, Adam. And if learners want to make this exercise even more effective, here's another trick. Describe everything in detail. For example, instead of just saying, I'm making coffee, try saying, I'm making coffee. I love the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. The water is boiling, and I can't wait to take my first sip. This forces your brain to form more complex sentences, which is exactly what you need for fluency.
That's such a great tip, Sophia. And here's another simple but powerful habit. Talk to yourself in front of a mirror. Mirror speaking exercise. Stand in front of a mirror, pick a random topic, and talk for 1 full minute. For example, talk about your day. Today was really busy. I had a lot of work, but I also had time to relax and watch a movie. Describe an object. This is my phone. It's black, it has a big screen, and I use it to listen to English podcasts. Tell a short story. Yesterday, I went to the supermarket and something funny happened. Speaking in front of a mirror helps you feel more comfortable speaking English out loud. It also lets you see your facial expressions and body language, which is a big part of fluency.
That's such a fantastic exercise, Adam. And let's not forget one of the most effective ways to build confidence: recording yourself. Voice recording exercise. Every day, take 1 minute to record yourself speaking about anything. It could be what you did today, your plans for tomorrow, a topic you're interested in. Then, listen to the recording. Don't judge yourself. Just ask, did I hesitate too much? Did I struggle to find words? What can I improve? If you do this every day for a week, you'll notice that your speaking gets smoother and more natural.
Absolutely, Sophia. And here's one last challenge for our listeners. If you really want to push yourself, start doing 1-minute speaking sprints. 1-minute speaking challenge. Every day, choose a random topic and speak for 1 minute without stopping. For example, what is your favorite food? Describe your ideal vacation. Talk about your daily routine. The rule is simple. You can't stop talking, even if you make mistakes. This forces your brain to think faster and helps you get comfortable speaking under pressure.
That's such a great idea, Adam. And let's quickly summarize the key takeaways from today's lesson. Key takeaways from week 1. 1. Speaking is an active skill you have to practice every day. 2. Narrate your daily activities out loud. 3. Describe objects and situations in detail. Use the mirror speaking exercise to build confidence. 5. Record yourself and listen for improvement. 6. Try 1-minute speaking sprints to train your brain.
If you follow these simple techniques every day for a week, you'll already start noticing a difference in your speaking. All right, English learners, now that we've built your daily speaking habit, it's time to focus on another key fluency skill: listening. Many learners focus too much on speaking, but forget that fluent speech starts with good listening. You can't speak naturally if you don't understand how English sounds in real life. Think about it. Babies don't start speaking immediately. First, they listen to their parents, hear the rhythm and sounds of the language, and slowly start forming words. So if you want to speak fluently, you need to train your ears first.
That's so true, Adam. And the best way to do this? Surround yourself with English constantly. Even if you don't understand every single word, your brain is still absorbing the sounds, pronunciation, and sentence patterns. Here's how you can train your ears every single day. Listen to podcasts during breakfast. Choose something interesting, like a conversation podcast, so you hear real spoken English. Watch English YouTube videos instead of your native language. Even if you're just relaxing, expose yourself to English content. Play English music while cooking or exercising. Even in the background, it's helping your ears get used to natural pronunciation. The more English you hear, the easier it will be to understand and respond naturally when you speak.
Exactly. Many learners think they need to sit down and study English for hours to improve their listening. But actually, the best way to improve is passive listening, having English in your environment all the time. Your brain is like a sponge. It absorbs information even when you're not paying full attention. Think about how you learned your native language. Did you study it in a book first? No, you just heard it everywhere, from your parents, on TV, from people around you. So let's recreate that learning process for English.
That's such an important point, Adam. And let's go even deeper. How can learners make this even more effective? Here's a powerful technique to train your ears. Use the listen and repeat method. 1. Pick a short clip from a podcast, a YouTube video, or a TV show. 2. Listen carefully to one sentence. 3. Pause and repeat exactly what you hear. 4. Try to copy the speed, pronunciation, and rhythm. This technique helps you recognize real spoken English and improves your own speaking fluency at the same time.
That's such a great exercise, Sophia. And I have another challenge for our listeners: speed training. Listen at normal speed, not slow English. Many learners only practice with slow, clear English. But in real life, people speak fast, use contractions, and connect their words. For example, instead of "what do you want?" a native speaker says, "what do you want?" If you only listen to slow English, you'll struggle to understand real conversations. So here's the challenge. Start listening to English at normal speed even if you don't understand everything. Your brain will adjust and soon it will feel natural.
I love that challenge, Adam. And here's another fun way to improve your listening. Use subtitles the right way. Step 1. Watch a short video with English subtitles. Step 2. Watch again, but turn off the subtitles. Step 3. Try to remember what was said. This helps your brain connect spoken words to written English, making it easier to recognize words when you hear them in real life.
That's such a useful exercise, Sophia. And before we move to the next chapter, let's summarize the key takeaways from today's lesson. Key takeaways from Week 2. 1. Fluency starts with good listening. Train your ears daily. 2. Surround yourself with English, podcasts, videos, music, and conversations. 3. Practice the listen and repeat method to copy native speakers. 4. Listen at normal speed. Don't rely on slow, clear English. 5. Use subtitles strategically. Watch with and without them. If you follow these steps, your listening skills will improve fast, and your speaking will become more natural.
That's right. And now that we've trained your ears, it's time to build a powerful vocabulary, so you never get stuck searching for words when you speak.
All right, English learners, now that we've built your daily speaking habit and trained your listening skills, it's time for the next powerful step: expanding your vocabulary in a smart and effective way. Many learners think they need to memorize thousands of words to sound fluent. But let me tell you a secret. You don't need a huge vocabulary to communicate effectively. In fact, native speakers use the same 100 phrases in most daily conversations. Instead of memorizing 1,000 random words, let's focus on learning the phrases you'll actually use in real life.
That's such an important point, Adam. So many learners spend hours memorizing individual words from vocabulary lists, but when it's time to speak, they struggle to form complete sentences. They know the words, but they don't know how to use them naturally in conversation. The key to fluency isn't just knowing a lot of words. It's about knowing the right phrases that help you express yourself naturally and effortlessly. Think about how native speakers talk. They don't think about grammar rules while speaking. They just use ready-made phrases that they've said hundreds of times before. That's why it sounds so smooth and natural. Instead of constructing every sentence from scratch, they rely on these common expressions. For example, instead of trying to figure out how to say "how are you" in a different way, they just say, "how's it going?" It's short, casual, and used all the time. Instead of saying, "I understand your point," they just say, "that makes sense." Instead of forming a complex sentence when ordering at a cafe, they simply say, "I'll take a coffee, please."
That's so true, Sophia. And here's the best part. If you master just 3 to 5 of these common phrases every day, you'll sound more fluent within weeks. Instead of struggling to put sentences together, you'll have these phrases ready to go, and you won't even have to think about them. It's like learning shortcuts for speaking English. Let's start with the most important ones: greetings and social phrases. These are the first things you say when meeting someone, and they set the tone for the entire conversation. Instead of always saying, "Hello, how are you?" try mixing it up with natural, everyday expressions. You can say, "Hey, what's up?" if you're speaking casually with a friend. If you haven't seen someone in a while, you can say, "Long time no see," or "How have you been?" These are the kinds of phrases that make your English sound more relaxed and fluent.
That's such a great point, Adam. And the best way to make these phrases feel natural is to actually start using them in your daily life. Don't just memorize them, practice using them in real conversations. If you see a friend, instead of the usual, "Hello, how are you?" try saying, "Hey, what's up?" It might feel different at first, but the more you use it, the more natural it will become. Now, let's talk about real-life situations like ordering food, shopping, or traveling. These are moments when you need to speak English, but many learners get stuck trying to form the perfect sentence. Instead of stressing about grammar, just learn the phrases native speakers actually use. If you're at a cafe, don't overthink how to ask for a coffee. Instead of saying, "I would like to have a coffee, please," just say, "Can I get a coffee, please?" If you're shopping and you want to pay with a card, instead of saying, "Can I use my credit card here?" just say, "Do you take card?" If you need to ask about a seat at a restaurant, instead of saying, "Is this seat available?" just say, "Is this seat taken?"
These small changes make a huge difference in how natural your English sounds. And the great thing about these phrases is that they work in so many different situations. Once you start using them, you'll feel more confident because you're speaking the way real people do. And here's something really important. Practice these phrases in real-life situations. The next time you go to a restaurant, try ordering in English. If you're at a store, ask a question in English, even if you're in a country where English isn't the main language. The more you practice, the more automatic these phrases will become.
That's such a great tip, Adam. Now let's talk about conversational expressions, those little phrases that make your speech sound smooth and effortless. Many learners tend to overthink their sentences, trying to say everything perfectly. But native speakers often use simple, ready-to-go expressions to keep the conversation flowing. For example, if someone explains something to you and you understand, instead of saying, "I understand you," just say, "That makes sense." It's a phrase that native speakers use all the time and it sounds way more natural. If someone shares an idea and you agree, instead of saying, "Yes, I understand your point," just say, "I see what you mean." And if you're not sure about something and need time to decide, instead of saying, "I will think about this and give you an answer later," just say, "Let me think about it."
Exactly, Sophia. These expressions are the key to speaking smoothly without sounding robotic. And the best way to learn them, use them every single day. Here's a simple challenge for our listeners. Pick 5 common phrases today and make sure you use each of them at least once in a sentence. Say them out loud, write them down, record yourself using them. The goal is to make these phrases feel automatic so you don't have to think about them while speaking. If you do this consistently, you'll see a huge difference in how fluently you speak. Instead of hesitating and translating in your head, these phrases will just come out naturally.
That's such a great exercise, Adam. And let's quickly summarize what we covered today. The key takeaway is this: you don't need thousands of words to speak fluently. Instead of memorizing random vocabulary, focus on learning the phrases that native speakers actually use. Mastering these common expressions will help you speak more naturally, more confidently, and more effortlessly.
Exactly. And now that we've built a strong foundation with common phrases, it's time for the next step, training your brain to think in English so you never hesitate when speaking.
That's right. Because the biggest challenge for many learners isn't knowing the words, it's thinking too much before they speak. In the next chapter, we're going to show you exactly how to stop translating in your head and start thinking in English automatically.
One of the biggest reasons learners struggle to speak fluently is because they translate every sentence in their heads before speaking. It's like their brain has to process English through a filter of their native language first, and this makes speaking slow, unnatural, and stressful. Have you ever had a moment where you understood everything in a conversation, but when it was your turn to talk, your mind went blank? That's because your brain was stuck in translation mode. If you want to speak faster and more naturally, you need to stop translating in your head and start thinking directly in English.
That's exactly right, Adam. And many learners don't even realize they're translating while speaking. It's just a habit they've developed over the years. Think about it. When you see a chair, what happens in your mind? If you're thinking in your native language, you might see the chair and first think silla in Spanish, then translate that word into English as chair. That's an extra step that slows down your fluency. But native speakers don't think this way. They see the object and immediately think chair. without any translation. And that's the skill we need to develop. One of the best ways to practice this is word association. Instead of translating words from your native language to English, train yourself to connect objects and concepts directly to English words. Let's try it right now. Look around you and name the first 5 things you see, but only in English. See a chair? Just think chair. See a bottle? Just think bottle. See a window? Just think window. No translations, just instant recognition in English.
That's such a great technique, Sophia. And it really works because it forces your brain to make English your default language for thinking. Another powerful method is the inner monologue exercise. This means talking to yourself in English in your head throughout the day. Instead of thinking in your native language, make an effort to think in English. For example, when you wake up in the morning, instead of thinking, I need to get out of bed and make coffee in your native language, try thinking, checkmark. I need to wake up. I'm feeling tired. I'll make coffee to feel better. Or when you're at the supermarket, instead of thinking, necesito comprar huevos in Spanish and translating, just think, I need to buy eggs. Should I get a dozen? Maybe I'll buy some bread too. The more you do this, the more natural it becomes.
That's such a powerful exercise. And here's another great trick. Describe what's happening around you in English. When you're walking outside, try describing your surroundings in your mind. The sun is shining. It's a little windy. I see kids playing in the park. If you do this every day, you'll start thinking in English automatically without even trying.
And let's not forget about storytelling. One of the best ways to train your brain to think in English is by telling yourself little stories in your head. Think of something simple, maybe what happened in your day, and tell it to yourself in English. Today, I woke up early. I made breakfast. Then I went to work. It was a busy day. If you can tell stories in English, even in your head, you're training your brain to organize thoughts in English.
That's such a great point, Adam. And if learners want to take it to the next level, they can record themselves speaking. Every day, pick a topic and record a 1-minute voice note without preparing, just speaking whatever comes to mind. Talk about your morning routine. Describe your favorite movie. Talk about a funny experience you had. Then, listen to your recording and notice where you hesitate. If you keep practicing, you'll start speaking faster and with more confidence.
Absolutely. And another fun way to start thinking in English is to switch your daily habits into English. Set your phone and apps to English. Change your Netflix subtitles to English. Start writing your to-do lists in English. These small changes will force your brain to start processing information in English automatically.
That's such a great idea, Adam. And let's quickly summarize the most powerful techniques from today's lesson. 1. Stop translating in your head. Think in English directly. 2. Use word association. Connect objects to English words instantly. 3. Practice inner monologue. Talk to yourself in English throughout the day. Describe your surroundings in English. Train your brain to think in full sentences. 5. Tell yourself little stories. Make English a part of your thought process. 6. Record yourself speaking. Track your progress and improve fluency. 7. Switch daily habits to English. Immerse yourself in the language. If you follow these steps, you'll break free from translation mode and start thinking in English naturally.
One of the most powerful ways to improve your speaking fluency instantly is a technique called shadowing. If you've ever wondered how to sound more natural, confident, and fluent without memorizing long vocabulary lists, this method is for you. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a native speaker and repeat exactly what they say, copying their speed, pronunciation, and rhythm. It forces your brain to adapt to the natural flow of English and helps you sound more like a native speaker.
That's right, Adam. The reason shadowing works so well is that it trains your mouth and brain to work together. Many learners understand English well, but when they try to speak, they hesitate because they're not used to producing the sounds quickly. Shadowing removes that hesitation because you're practicing English in real time, exactly how native speakers say it. Here's how to do it. Pick a short clip. It could be from a podcast, a YouTube video, or a movie. Choose something where the speaker talks in clear, natural English. Listen to one sentence. Focus on how they say it, their intonation, rhythm, and pronunciation. Repeat the sentence immediately, exactly as they said it. Try to match their speed, accent, and tone.
Let's try a quick example. Imagine you hear someone say, "That's incredible." Now, instead of just reading the words in a monotone voice, you should copy exactly how the native speaker says it. "That's incredible," with the right emphasis and excitement. When you do this over and over again, you start to train your voice to sound more like a native speaker.
Exactly. And shadowing is not just about repeating words, it's about absorbing the natural way English is spoken. Notice how native speakers connect words together. Pay attention to their pauses and emphasis. Copy their tone and emotion. For example, native speakers don't say, "What do you want?" in separate words. They say, "What do you want?" If you shadow real conversations, you'll naturally pick up these patterns without needing to memorize grammar rules.
That's so important, Sophia. And the best part? Shadowing improves pronunciation, speaking speed, and confidence, all at the same time. Many learners worry about sounding unnatural when they speak. Shadowing fixes that because you're training yourself to sound exactly like native speakers.
Yes, and if you want to make this exercise even more effective, try recording yourself. Step 1. Listen to a short audio clip. Step 2. Shadow the speaker and record yourself. Step 3. Compare your recording with the original and adjust your pronunciation. This will help you hear your mistakes and correct them in real time.
That's a great tip, Sophia. And let's talk about how often you should practice shadowing. The key is consistency. If you do just 5 to 10 minutes of shadowing every day, your pronunciation and fluency will improve dramatically in a few weeks.
Yes, and you don't need to use long sentences. Even practicing 1 or 2 sentences a day will make a difference. Let's quickly summarize what we covered today. 1. Shadowing helps you copy native speakers' pronunciation, rhythm, and speed. 2. Listen to a short sentence, repeat it immediately, and match the native speaker's tone. 3. Pay attention to connected speech, intonation, and natural phrasing. 4. Record yourself and compare it to the original for better improvement. 5. Practice daily for just 5 to 10 minutes to see results fast.
Now that we've worked on speaking naturally and improving pronunciation with shadowing, it's time to level up your vocabulary. But here's the mistake many learners make. They try to memorize long vocabulary lists without actually knowing how to use the words. The truth is, learning vocabulary out of context is like collecting puzzle pieces without knowing how they fit together. That's why today, we're going to show you how to expand your vocabulary the smart way, so you can use new words naturally in conversations.
That's so important, Adam. Memorizing random words without using them in real life won't help you speak fluently. Instead, you should focus on learning words in context. Let's say you want to learn a new word like massive. Instead of just memorizing the word massive means big, you should learn it by using it in different sentences. Instead of, "This is a big house," say, "This house is massive," or "This house is enormous." By doing this, you're not just learning one word, you're learning how it's actually used in conversation.
Exactly, Sophia. And here's another great technique. Learn synonyms instead of memorizing separate words. For example, if you already know the word happy, instead of learning completely unrelated words, you can learn I'm thrilled, very happy. She looks overjoyed, extremely happy. That's fantastic. Another way to say something is great. By learning related words together, you naturally expand your vocabulary without needing to memorize long lists.
That's such a great tip. And here's another method that works really well. Using the new word in at least 3 different sentences. If you learn one new word today, don't just read it once and forget it. Try using it in at least 3 different sentences throughout your day. Let's take the word exciting. This movie is so exciting. I have an exciting trip coming up next week. Learning English in a fun way makes it more exciting. If you do this every day for 3 months, you'll learn over 90 words and actually know how to use them.
That's right. And the more you use the words in real conversations, the faster they become part of your active vocabulary. Here's another powerful trick. Learn vocabulary from real-life situations, not just textbooks. If you're watching a movie, pay attention to how actors use certain words. If you're reading a book, notice which words come up often in conversations. If you're in a cafe, look around and describe things in English. There's a cozy atmosphere here. This way, you're learning words that are actually useful in daily life.
Exactly, Adam. And let's talk about another common mistake learners make. They try to learn complicated words before mastering the basics. Many learners think that using big, complicated words will make them sound more fluent, but actually, native speakers use simple, natural language most of the time. For example, instead of saying, "This meal is exquisite," too formal, just say, "Check mark, this food is amazing," sounds more natural. If you focus on mastering common useful vocabulary first, your English will sound much more fluent and relaxed.
That's such a great point. And let's summarize this chapter key takeaways so our listeners can start applying these techniques right away. 1. Don't memorize word lists. Learn words in context. 2. Use synonyms to expand your vocabulary naturally. 3. Practice each new word in at least 3 sentences. Learn from real-life situations, movies, books, daily conversations. 5. Focus on natural, commonly used words instead of complicated vocabulary. If you follow this strategy, you'll build a strong vocabulary that you can actually use in real conversations.
That's right. And now that we've built a strong vocabulary foundation, it's time for the next step, real conversations.
Chapter 8, Week 7. Practice real conversations. We've spent the last few weeks building your speaking habit, training your ears, expanding your vocabulary, and learning how to think in English. Now it's time for the most important part of fluency, real conversations. Many learners make the mistake of waiting until they feel ready before speaking. But the truth is, fluency comes from practice, not perfection. The more you speak, the more comfortable and confident you become.
That's right, Adam. And the biggest fluency mistake is only learning English passively by reading, listening, or watching videos, but never actually speaking. Imagine trying to learn how to swim by watching YouTube videos about swimming, but never getting in the water. No matter how much you study, you'll never learn to swim unless you practice. Speaking English is the same. You don't need perfect grammar or a huge vocabulary. You just need to start talking.
Exactly. And a lot of learners say, "But I don't have a native speaker to practice with." The good news is, you don't need one to start improving your speaking. Here are some powerful ways to practice real conversations, even if you don't have a language partner. Join online speaking groups. There are English learning communities on WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, and Reddit where learners practice together. Use language exchange apps. Apps like HelloTalk, Tandem, or Speaky let you talk with real people who want to practice English. Talk to yourself out loud. If you don't have anyone to speak with, be your own conversation partner. Narrate your day, describe objects, or role-play dialogues.
Talking to yourself might sound strange at first, but it's actually one of the best ways to train your brain to think in English and speak without hesitation. Here's an easy self-conversation exercise. 1. Ask yourself a question. What did I do today? 2. Answer in full sentences. I woke up early, made coffee, and listened to a podcast before work. 3. Ask a follow-up question. What podcast did I listen to? 4. Keep the conversation going. It's like having a real dialogue with yourself, and it forces you to practice speaking without fear of making mistakes.
That's such a great exercise, Sophia. And if learners want to push themselves even further, they can practice shadow conversations, watch a video or listen to a podcast. Pause after each sentence. Repeat the sentence out loud, then add your own response. For example, if a speaker says, "I love traveling," you can respond, "Me too. My dream is to visit Japan." This makes speaking feel more natural and spontaneous, just like a real conversation.
That's such a powerful technique. And another great way to practice real conversations is by role-playing common situations. Pretend you're at a restaurant and practice ordering food. Imagine you're meeting a new friend and introduce yourself. Act like you're booking a hotel and practice asking questions. If you practice these situations regularly, you'll feel more confident when the real moment comes.
Exactly, Sophia. And let's talk about how to overcome fear and hesitation when speaking. Many learners feel nervous when they try to speak because they're afraid of making mistakes. But here's the truth. Mistakes are part of the learning process. Native speakers don't care if you make grammar mistakes. They care that you're making an effort to communicate. Instead of worrying about saying everything perfectly, focus on getting your message across. Instead of freezing when you don't know a word, describe it. Use filler phrases like, "Let me think," or, "How do you say?" Keep speaking even if you make mistakes.
That's so important. And let's summarize today's key lessons so our listeners can start practicing real conversations right away. 1. Fluency comes from speaking, not just listening, reading, or studying grammar. 2. You don't need a native speaker. Join online speaking groups, use language exchange apps, or talk to yourself. 3. Practice self-conversations and role-playing common situations. Use shadowing techniques to improve your ability to respond naturally. 5. Don't fear mistakes. Focus on communication, not perfection.
All right, English learners, now that we've worked on your speaking habits, listening skills, vocabulary, and real conversations, it's time for one of the most crucial steps in fluency: fixing your mistakes and learning how to sound more natural when you speak. Mistakes don't stop fluency. Fear of mistakes does. Many learners feel nervous about speaking because they're afraid of making errors, but guess what? Fluency comes from speaking, making mistakes, and improving.
Exactly, Adam. And the key here is to embrace your mistakes and see them as an opportunity to improve, not something to be afraid of. When you make mistakes, you learn what needs to be fixed, and that's how fluency grows. So, how do you fix mistakes? One of the most effective ways is to record yourself speaking. This might feel awkward at first, but it's one of the best ways to become aware of your weaknesses and improve quickly.
Recording yourself may feel a little uncomfortable at first, but it's such a game changer. When you listen to your recordings, you'll be able to hear what you sound like from an outside perspective. Now, as you listen, ask yourself a few questions. Do you pause a lot when you speak? Do you struggle with pronunciation or certain sounds? Are you repeating the same words too much? Identifying these areas helps you become more aware of your speaking habits and allows you to focus on fixing them.
That's so true, Adam. And let's talk about the most common mistakes that learners tend to make. One mistake is pausing too much. Sometimes, when we don't know the exact word or sentence structure, we pause a lot while we think. This can interrupt the flow of your speech and make you sound less confident. To fix this, try practicing filler phrases that will help you keep talking even when you're unsure. Phrases like, "Let me think for a second." That's a good question. Let me think. How do you say that? These phrases will help you keep the conversation flowing, even if you're still figuring out how to express your thoughts.
Great point, Sophia. And another common mistake is pronunciation problems. Sometimes we mispronounce words, especially when we're learning a new language, and that can hold us back from sounding fluent. Here's the trick. Practice the sounds that are difficult for you. For example, English speakers often struggle with the "th" sound, like in this or that. Record yourself saying words with the difficult sound and listen carefully. Try to match the rhythm and speed of native speakers and practice until it feels natural.
Yes, exactly. And a third common issue is repeating the same words. You might say "very good" or "really nice" too many times without realizing it. While these are good phrases, repeating them too often can make your English sound a little repetitive. Try to expand your vocabulary by using synonyms and different expressions. For example, instead of saying, very good, try saying, that's fantastic, that's awesome, that's amazing. This makes your speech sound more dynamic and natural.
That's a great tip, Sophia. The key to fluency is using a variety of expressions and not sticking to the same words all the time. Now here's the best part. If you fix just one mistake per day, you'll sound a lot more fluent in just a few weeks. So each time you listen to your recordings, focus on fixing just one thing. Maybe today you'll focus on reducing your pauses. Tomorrow, you might work on improving your pronunciation. The next day, you can focus on expanding your vocabulary and avoiding repetition.
Exactly, Adam. The most important thing is consistency. Just like exercising, the more you practice, the stronger you'll get. If you make it a habit to correct one small mistake each day, you'll see improvement quickly. Let's quickly summarize the key takeaways from today's chapter. 1. Mistakes don't stop fluency. Fear of mistakes does. 2. Record yourself speaking to identify areas for improvement. 3. Ask yourself key questions like, do you pause too much? Do you struggle with pronunciation? Are you repeating the same words? 4. Focus on fixing one mistake per day. 5. Use filler phrases to keep the conversation flowing. 6. Practice pronunciation on difficult sounds. 7. Expand your vocabulary by using synonyms and different expressions.
If you commit to fixing small mistakes every day, you'll see huge improvements in your speaking fluency over time. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember, fluency is possible for you.
We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, happy learning. Thank you.